What's up, you guys? I'm headed to the gym right now. I wanted to talk about something I know a lot of Christians are not going to want to talk about. One of the things that bothers me, and I think bothers a lot of people who aren't on the religious side, or they're teetering on studying, or even like being open to Christianity or whatever spiritual means they go through. Let me just say something for the Christian people. If you are forcing yourself for other people to believe in what you believe, that's not what God told you to do. That's not even what the Bible tells us what to do. See, my understanding of the Bible and my understanding of how I came to Christianity and how I understand following Jesus, it was a means of the lifestyle that I led, right? One of the ways that I actually remember coming to Christ is because of one of my ex-girlfriend's dads. And we went through a really bad breakup. And I came to him and I said, I'm really tired of my relationships failing because I actually built a friendship with this guy. And I told him that. And he goes, while I respect, the fact that I've given you the capacity to have a friendship with me, he's like, you actually have to start doing something for yourself. It's not getting a girlfriend. That's not focusing on making money. He's like, have you ever read the Bible? And I said, no. I said, I grew up Christian. I was raised in a Lutheran, private school church school, but I never really stuck to that lifestyle because my parents had split up and we actually stopped going to church at a very young age. So because of that, because of being away from the Word of God, because I was away from that, I actually started to, believe in the ways of the world. But there's one thing that this guy said to me that has stuck with me in the way that I preach the gospel to other people. I ask people if they've ever read the Bible. I don't ask them if they believe in God. I don't ask them if they believe in Jesus. I ask them, have they read the book? Because that's the way that I actually started to build a correlation of my life and my life experiences to the disciples and the people that had experiences with Jesus. That's what made me ultimately show my faith, and not just this belief system of where I couldn't really understand, right? I had to understand one thing and make it really clear to myself that unless I wanted to keep, choosing my own belief system and choosing to fall into the same pain of lust and, unaccountability, or not controlling my emotions, not commanding my fear, not commanding my emotions, right? I kept wearing my heart on my sleeve. But that's because I didn't choose to have faith in something that was outside of myself. See, the difference in believing in love and believing in the idea of love is you actually have to understand the pure example of it. That's what reading the Bible taught me. Is I knew that all of these people like Job in the Bible, were tested. They were tested to the ends of their wits, right? But they knew the definition of rejecting sin, right? And becoming righteousness versus, just telling their weakness, right? They did both. He did both. And that's why I say, you have to reject the sin, but you also have to come to God and talk to Him the same way that you read the Bible. So this is all just to say, if you're always experiencing some sort of fear, outside of yourself, or maybe some fear within that you really aren't coming to closure with the amount of trauma that you've dealt with, but just hear me out. If you've never read the Bible, what can you actually say is forced? What can you actually say is not for you? Because a lot of people read the Bible, but they don't go and think about how their life actually is put in place the same way these people in the Bible were. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about. So if you guys ever think about Christianity and you just, you're tired of hearing people talk about it, or, you respect it, but you're not going to go into it, think about this. The next time somebody tries to force you into it, it's actually putting a bigger wall up than those people are already doing themselves. Try not to force Christianity, but just show people that because the way you are happy is because of the Lord, because the fulfillment that you have is because of the Lord. It's not because you forced Christianity. Christianity is like, there's many different ways to partake in the lifestyle. I personally believe in orthodoxy, but some other people might just be at the Protestant level. Some other people just might be at that, evangelical level, right? Where they just want to believe in the word, right? They don't actually, they believe in preaching the gospel, right? But it's not actually like this death of the flesh. It's just sharing the word. Maybe that's the way that God is using you, but is there another level to it? Can you experience a more disciplinary lifestyle, right? More discernment to the flesh? Is it all about just sharing the word, or is it about living in the word, right? Because I honestly believe you have to do what's necessary to attain the mind of Christ. Because if the Christ mind is not already within you, and the Bible tells us this, it tells us the answer. So if you read it, you will actually understand this. But the Bible tells us that unless you are trying to become into reformation or try to regenerate your mind, you're not actually going to receive the mind of Christ. It takes that willingness to come to Christ, to welcome him in. Because God is not just going to give you all of the blessings that you keep asking him for and all of the pain you want him to rid of your life, right? It's actually the regeneration of man, the regeneration of your life, your spirit. But you have to do that on a level that shows you're accountable to it. It shows that you actually want that. So the next time you guys hear me say like, you're not doing this and you're not doing that, just know I've done it. I don't come to you from a perspective of an unhealed trauma. I actively work through a lot of the stuff that I talk about. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about is from a healed perspective. There's always bits in the Bible that you can go back to just as much as your past. But see, a lot of people don't want to go to their past. It's actually harder to look at the Bible and place it into your life. Place the lifestyle of a saint, the lifestyle of a disciple into your life than it is to actually just look at your trauma. Nobody wants to do that, but that's where the success is. That's where the growth is. So the next time you understand, like, Christianity is not about, I need to follow, the ways of what the pastor at my church is doing. No. Christianity is your journey with Christ. It's your following of Jesus. But that also means you come to church, because the church is the wife of Christ. And I really, truly believe in a community that holds each other up to that. It's not falling to all the ideas of man, all the ideas of flesh. And I think that this world has become really, really normalized with that. So I don't make my channel or make my page for people to just find some sort of cop-out with Christianity. Christianity is not a cop-out. It's an active growth process, right? It's not just whenever you want. It's right now. It's tomorrow, the next day. It's taking the shit and rolling with it. It's taking the punches, getting hit, getting back up, and continuing to do it. Because you know that you reject the sin, because you know that you can also come to Christ with your weaknesses. Because he's actually what makes you stronger. But if you're unwilling to drop the ego, if you're unwilling to crush down the walls for Jesus, you won't do it for yourself. Because Jesus actually loves you a lot more than you right now can love yourself. Okay? He will always do that. But you got to welcome that. I love you guys. become a viceroy.